Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today's Synastry is between Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. This chart is tragic, tangled, and full of love that burns at the edges. It's karmic in that way that where two souls collide and pull out each other's darkest fire. It's powerful because it shows how destiny can drag two people together, even when the world around them and the world inside of them is falling apart. Their synastry is a storm, a vow, and a warning all at once. So let's get into it. Her Neptune and Psyche and Lilith conjuncts his midheaven in Scorpio. That is high voltage intrigue, hitting the place where his reputation lives. The midheaven is the legacy, the public face, the story the world sees about you. And she comes in with a triple signature that rewrites his entire myth. Neptune brings the fog, Psyche brings the soul, and Lilith brings the taboo and sexuality. Her Neptune on his midheaven means he becomes a screen for her illusions. There are fantasies, rumors, mysteries that are projected onto him, and he gets pulled into her world of glamour and distortion. It's the Scorpio style of smoke and mirrors, where passion looks like danger and truth gets blurred until nobody knows what is real anymore. Lilith on his midheaven, it ties into his reputation. It ties his reputation to her wildness and rebellion. He gets branded as the bad influence, the bad boy, even though they were both bringing intense energy into this relationship. Her Lilith sets the tone, but the public puts the weight of it on him due to his midheaven absorbing the energy. His moon conjuncts her vertex and Alma. His Virgo moon on her vertex and Alma is instant soul recognition, but in a steady, grounded way. He steps into her life and she gets that deja vu feeling. The vertex is a faded doorway, so the pull is immediate and undeniable. Her Alma on his moon brings the soulful bond right to the surface where he feels seen, understood, and connected. Now, Bobby's Sappho and Fantasia and Alma asteroids are all on her south node. This is past life memory. Sappho brings passion, the artistic erotic energy, and with Fantasia there, it adds a dreamy fantasy-like connection, which ties back to Neptune. Alma is pure soul connection, remembered from past lives here. It's the pull you can't break, even when the real world turns messy. Now, her Apophis and Juno conjuncts his south node. This is another layer of deja vu, another chapter from a story that started long before they met in this lifetime. Juno brings commitment, but not the sweet storybook version, because Apophis adds the chaos and the destruction, the feeling that even the wreckage is familiar. Their connection was not built here. This was the next chapter of a story that was already in motion. Now, his chaos conjuncts her moon and Jupiter in Aries. So he brings emotional chaos to her moon, and it's fast and impulsive. Her emotions are thrown into turbulence. He's the storm that shakes her emotionally. She feels alive, but never settled. Feelings are intensified and pushed to the edge. And she craves the rush, but it's exhausting. And this is why her emotional world was a battlefield with him. Now, his Medusa also conjuncts her moon. And this is where the myth turns personal. Medusa is the strike when power turns toxic. He may have been vindictive toward her, or it can show emotional stress that she could not shake. the kind that shows up as sleepless nights or stomach knots, tension, or that frozen feeling the frozen feeling under pressure when the air around you feels charged and hostile because of his chaos asteroid there. Now, her Jupiter conjuncts his chaos. Jupiter in Aries does nothing quietly, and it magnifies the energy. So when her Jupiter meets his chaos, it pours fuel on the fire. Whatever chaos he brings, she expands it. His drama, his unpredictability, his rebellion, and she lifts all of it into this mythic size out of proportion. And it becomes that classic dynamic where one person is the enabler and the other is the arsonist. And neither one of them wants to call the fire department. They don't stop the blaze, they just feed into it. But his Saturn also conjuncts her moon in Aries. So how does this tie into chaos and Jupiter? Now you've got a 3-ring circus. He brings the chaos. He's the one shaking the snow globe, turning everything upside down. Her Jupiter blows it all up. Every drama gets bigger and every high gets higher. Then his Saturn tries to slam the emergency brake. But by then, the roller coaster's already flying off of the tracks. It's wild, it's messy, and it's mythic. It's the kind of love story where neither one can let go, even when the train is derailed. And it wore on her emotionally. Now, her Jupiter also conjuncts his Pan asteroid. And Pan is the spirit of wildness, partying, excess, and indulgence. It's that edge where pleasure becomes escape. Pan plays the flute and everyone follows, even when he leads them off of the beaten path. So, when Whitney's Jupiter conjuncts his Pan, she amplifies not only his chaos, but his appetites. The fun turns into frenzy. The passion turns into excess. The party becomes the place where you get lost and you forgot where you parked your car and you can't find your keys. Now, his Melpomene conjuncts her descendant. Bobby's Melpomene, the muse of tragedy, conjuncts Whitney's descendant. The doorway into marriage, commitment, and the people that we choose to be significant others. He brings the soundtrack of heartbreak, the shadow of the classic tragic romance. And with Melpomene there, the script was always going to be a little darker, a little more bittersweet. And he becomes the living reminder that great love can hurt, and sometimes the pain is what makes it unforgettable. And with her Uranus sitting there too, the whole thing gets an electric, unstable charge. Sudden turns, sudden endings, it's the shock factor woven into the tragedy. Now, his Mars in Scorpio conjuncts her Melpomene. This is the chemistry of a love story that it can't help but turn into extremes and run into tragedy. So together, it's a passion that will not settle and a drama that refuses to quit. And he doesn't just bring desire, he brings the fire that lights the stage for heartbreak and transformation. Because his Pluto conjuncts her vertex. So the whole connection gets lifted into something epic. The lesson, the impact, the emotional fallout, all of it becomes larger than life. Their relationship reads like part love affair, part opera, written with high stakes, and there's no easy exits. Now, her Casanova and her Lamia conjuncts his ascendant. Casanova is charm, allure, temptation. The sweet talker who knows exactly how to draw someone in. Casanova carries the energies of cheating and betrayal, and she strayed. So she carried that restless, searching quality where love and desire get tangled. where validation becomes oxygen, especially with her Venus being in Leo. Lamia, that asteroid, is also conjuncting his ascendant, and that adds another layer. Casanova and Lamia together create this emotional double exposure. He sees the seduction, he feels the sorrow, and he wants to save her because his Don Quixote conjuncts her North Node, which I will get to. But that placement alone makes him feel like the knight in the story, the one who wants to be chosen, the one who wants to rescue, the one who wants to rescue the woman who seems to be out of reach. It pulls him deeper into her world, even when that world is chaotic, painful, or unfaithful. And when those sit on his ascendant, he lives the impact of both. She becomes the woman he wants to protect and the woman who could break him in the same breath. And it goes even deeper because her swindle asteroid is conjunct his point of fortune and Casanova. The point of fortune works like a mini Jupiter. Whatever it touches, it magnifies. And swindle is all about cheating, deceit, and secrets. So when swindle hits his point of fortune and Casanova, nothing stays hidden. It gets amplified and exposed, just like the tension that happened between Whitney and Kevin Costner and their alleged emotional affair. So even if it wasn't physical, this chart validates the presence of secrets and deceit. Now, his Proserpina and Don Quixote conjuncts her North Node. Her North Node is the destiny point, the theme of the relationship. And he walks into her life carrying two archetypes that shape her entire narrative in this relationship. Proserpina is the queen of the underworld. Don Quixote is the dreamer who lives inside illusions. So together on her North Node, he becomes the living symbol of two forces on her path. Shadow transformation and impossible hope. His Proserpina on her North Node pulls her toward the parts of herself she avoids, the underworld darkness and the truths that she hides beneath the surface. He awakens her shadow work, her vulnerability, and that inner split between innocence and survival. And because Don Quixote is there, it becomes a paradox. He brings the myth of the beautiful illusion. Don Quixote is the knight who loves the dream more than the reality. And he's driven by conviction and a heart that's too idealistic for the world that he lives in. So when his Don Quixote is on her North Node, he becomes the man who represents the impossible dream, a love anchored in illusion. Whitney's Chiron conjuncts Bobby's Bacchus, the asteroid of excess. And Chiron is the wound you never stop carrying. And Bacchus, like I said, is the god of excess, the appetite that never says enough, whether it's partying, pleasure, sex, drugs, or the high of chaos itself. So when her Chiron conjuncts his Bacchus, she does not heal his indulgences. She exposes them. Their connection makes the indulgence louder, the consequences heavier, and the spiral more dramatic because it's also tying into the Jupiter-Pan connection. Her Chiron also conjuncts his Aeschylus. When Chiron meets Aeschylus, the archetype of tragedy, you get pain written like a story. She steps into the part of life, his part of life, where pain turns dramatic. And her Chiron activates this tragedy in him. The place where sorrow becomes symbolic, almost theatrical, due to Melpomene and Aeschylus. So it's not pain avoided. It is pain experienced, acknowledged, and lived. So what does that lead to? Not healing, not closure, and not some bright rainbow at the end. It leads to what the world already witnessed. A story people remember because of the heartbreak, because of the downfall, and because of how heavy and mythic the pain became. And I think that he still feels the pain over this relationship. And this aspect, it ends with a legacy shaped by tragedy. And that is the point. That is the myth. Now, her eclectico conjuncts his north node and Chiron. So he was born with Chiron on his north node. So pain is already part of his life story. It follows him, it shapes him, and it shows up at every major turning point in his life. When she comes in with eclectico, the Greek fury of retribution, the theme of the relationship becomes clear for him. There is payback, there's consequence, and there is punishment woven into this bond. So the theme for him in this relationship is pain that demands to be felt and consequences that refuse to stay quiet. And they both punished each other because also his finale asteroid and eclectico conjuncts her ascendant. So he walks in carrying two torches. One burns with endings and divorce papers because of finale, and the other with Fury's justice, eclectico. She becomes the heroine in a myth where things have to end, and every ending comes with a final judgment. He's the signal that her story with him will not be a forever marriage, but a marriage that ends with accountability on both sides because her eclectico conjuncts his north node. So when you step back and look at all of this together, their charts read like a love story written in fire. There's passion that felt faded and pain that felt familiar. And there's two souls here pulling each other into chapters they were already carrying long before they met due to the South Node conjunctions. They were the dream and the downfall, and the echo of something ancient, and the warning of what happens when destiny runs too hot. So Whitney and Bobby were never built for quiet. They were built for myth. And it's the kind of connection that changes you. It teaches you, and it lives long after the story ends. So that is all I have between these two, and I will be back shortly with other synastry charts and natal charts as well. And if you need a synastry chart, I'm available, and all the information is in my description. Have a nice day.